Welcome to The Explainer. You know, we've been digging into some really fascinating source material, and it lays out this absolutely radical vision for the future of humanity.
It's a huge question, right? But seriously, just take a second and imagine a world where all the things we struggle with every day, the rivalry, the daily grind, the endless conflicts, what if they just weren't there anymore?
All right, so let's really get into it. The source material we're exploring today calls this whole new societal operating system the platform. And its goal? It's not about profit or power. It's about designing a world from the ground up for everyone's well-being. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this vision, we've got to start by looking at where we are now versus the future that the platform is promising. So on one side, you've got today's reality, right? This fierce scramble for everything. Jobs, resources, status, a world of endless ads and brand competition. But the platform's vision, it's a total flip. It's all about absolute cooperation. You only make what's actually needed. And all that waste, what the Japanese call muda, all the unnecessary, redundant stuff, it's just completely engineered out of the system. Okay, but how in the world would this actually work? I know, it sounds a little like science fiction, doesn't it? But the source material gets pretty detailed about the engine that would drive this whole new society. And that engine is the platform itself. So what is the platform? Think of it like a global utility, but it's an AI. And its one and only mission is to end suffering. It's designed to know exactly what's needed, where it's needed, and the best way to get it there. And, this is a big one, it does all of this while making sure your personal data stays completely private and anonymous.
And here's how it works, in 3 basic steps. First, it's constantly collecting real-time anonymous data on, well, everything, from resource availability to public health metrics. Then, the AI analyzes all that data to forecast our needs, with supposedly perfect accuracy. We're talking everything from food and housing to big infrastructure projects. And finally, step 3, it directs production and distribution to meet every single one of those needs. No surplus, no shortages. It's this simple cycle, collect, analyze, allocate, that's meant to make the entire global economy run with this incredible, flawless efficiency. And here's where it gets really mind-bending. The knock-on effect of this is just, wow. I mean, if you can perfectly provide for every single person's needs, think about what happens. Whole pillars of our society just become unnecessary. Social welfare, charity, gone. Even most petty crime would just fade away because the motivation is gone. No more trade wars, no more patent disputes. It's a total rewrite.
Okay, so let's follow that thread. How does a system like this build a completely new economic model? Well, it's all about moving from an economy of scarcity, which is what we have now, to one of pure abundance. Yeah, look at that number. 100 times. That's the kind of leap in productivity the Source projects is possible once you get rid of all the waste from competition. And with that kind of insane efficiency, the whole concept of work completely changes. It would free up a staggering amount of human time and energy. And this quote, this really nails the end game. Companies essentially cease to exist. Instead of these separate competing groups, you have one unified global production effort. All human knowledge, all resources are pooled together and used for the good of everyone. It's about sharing know-how, not hoarding it.
But this whole vision goes way deeper than just economics. It's also trying to tackle some really tough, deep-seated social problems, including the super sensitive topic of existing power structures. So you have to be asking, how do you make a change this big without, a massive conflict? The Source has a pretty clever and honestly a gentle idea. It's not a violent revolution. It's more like a replatforming. It talks about treating these vested interests, in Japanese, kitoku keniki, like royalty at Disneyland. They get to keep their titles, their pride, they can even give orders. But those orders just don't connect to anything real anymore. They're completely taken care of, but their actual power is just gone. It becomes symbolic.
Okay, so if you don't have a corporate ladder to climb, what do you even aspire to? Well, according to the Source, the new goal is to become a guardian. And these aren't positions of power in the old sense. They're more like respected role models, people who choose to serve because they're driven by this deep desire to grow and contribute to the world.
And this really gets to the core of what this all means for you, for me, for the individual. When the need to work just to survive is gone, all that human energy gets redirected. It's freed up to chase higher goals, things like creativity, self-growth, building community, exploration, all the stuff we wish we had more time for now.
But this whole idea raises a really deep, philosophical question, doesn't it? If you solve all our problems, if you get rid of struggle and scarcity, what's left to drive us? What is our motivation?
The answer, according to the source, is that our motivation doesn't disappear. It just changes. It shifts from being about external needs, I need food, I need shelter, to internal drives. Joy starts coming from more refined, more subtle things, like a newfound happiness just to be alive, a new sensitivity to beauty in small things, the pure satisfaction of learning a new skill, and this bigger joy of contributing to our collective human story and discovering new truths together. And that journey of discovery, that leads us to the final and maybe the most awe-inspiring part of this whole vision, what humanity does next, after we've got our own house in order.
So imagine that. We've done it. Global harmony, abundance for everyone. What's the next great human project? Where do we point all of that collective creative energy? Well, according to this vision, we turn our eyes outward, to the cosmos.
Yeah, exactly. This vision doesn't just stop with a perfect Earth. That's just stage one. The real long-term goal, as this quote lays out, is for humanity to become a species of creators, shaping not just better music or vehicles, but entirely new continents, and eventually even new planets.
And this timeline here really shows you that grand long-term arc. It's an evolution in stages. First, in the near future, the platform brings stability and abundance here on Earth. Then, in the mid-future, we master our own planet, learning to do incredible things like large-scale geoengineering. And finally, in the deep future, our focus shifts entirely to creating new worlds.
And that leaves us with this one last, really powerful idea to chew on. Think about it. A tiny seed with almost nothing can pull resources from its surroundings and grow into a massive tree. So the source asks, if we start small, what kind of universe could humanity create? It suggests that creating a planet might not be an act of brute force, but one of patient, intelligent, organic growth. And that, while that reframes not just our future, but our ultimate potential as a species.